Okay. Hi, everybody. We should be
Wait.
live already. Oh, no. Okay.
No.
Are we good now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good evening. On behalf of the biology department at South Texas College, we would like to thank you all for joining us for our talk about Laguna Atascosa, the National Wildlife Refuge Track. Today, we have George Garcia, also known as Georgie, and he will be the one leading our talk. So let me give you a little bit of information about him and also about the Laguna Atascosa Wildlife Refuge Track. So Georgie is the Visitor Services Manager with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services at Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge, with 5 years of experience helping to conserve, protect, and enhance fish, wildlife, plants, and their habitats for the continuing benefit of the American people. Laguna Atascosa comprises 3 main units to the Laguna Atascosa, the Bahia Grande unit and the South Padre Island unit, totaling approximately 120,000 acres with over 70 miles of hiking and biking trails. The refuge offers a variety of public uses such as hunting, fishing, wildlife observation, photography, environmental education, and interpretation. Individually, these 6 activities provide a wide variety of great outdoor experiences. Together, they stand tall as a cornerstone of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's National Wildlife Refuge System. So again, if you are wanting to have a question answered by Georgie, please feel free to leave a comment, and then we at the end will gather some questions. And we also ask that you put your name and maybe your question will be asked at the end. So without further ado, Georgie, go ahead and start your presentation.
All right, how's it going, everybody? Oops. All right, are we seeing what I'm saying? Guys?
I can see you and I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, but you're not seeing my screen. Oh, okay, sorry. There you go, I'll take it. All right, hey everybody, my name is Georgie. Thank you for the introduction. Your screen, Elizabeth, switches to a beautiful sea turtle, which confuses me drastically because I have a sea turtle in my presentation as well. That's where the confusion was. I apologize. All right, well, I appreciate the introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is George Garcia. I am the Visitor Services Manager at Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge. It is the largest national wildlife refuge in South Texas. We have over 120,000 acres, and then we have 70 miles of hiking and biking trails. It's truly an amazing location just to go and visit. I do have a short presentation, and afterwards, if y'all want to ask any questions, I'd love to answer them. The host is sharing the screen. Elizabeth, if you don't mind. Still having trouble sharing my screen.
No worries. Let's get that for you. We just need to give you the permission, right?
Yes, I believe so. If I click on share, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, Atenea. See. Can you try again?
Yes, sir. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Try again.
There we go. Yes, sir.
Oh, awesome.
All right, everybody seeing the presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Outstanding. All right, so I am from the best national wildlife refuge in the system, Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge. The refuge system was created by President Theodore Roosevelt in 1903 with the First Nations refuge on March 14th. We just actually celebrated our 120th birthday for the refuge system. That's 120 years of conservation effort towards the protection of wildlife. He started the first refuge in Florida at Pelican Island National Bird Reservation. 43 years later and 209 wildlife refuges later, Laguna Atascosa was established in 1946 under the Migratory Bird Conservation Act of 1929. The Laguna Atascosa is composed of three major units. We have the Bahia Grande unit highlighted in blue, and the Laguna Atascosa unit in orange, and then the South Padre Island unit hidden behind the legend. Laguna Atascosa is located at the southern extent of South Texas. The refuge has great influences from the Great Plains, tropics, Gulf Coast, and desert, creating one of the most biological diverse regions in North America. We host over 417 different bird species during our peak migration. That's more bird species than any other national wildlife refuge. That makes us #1 for birding. We're, for a reason, we are at the meeting points of two major flyways, the Central Flyway and the Mississippi Flyway. This crucial stopping point is extremely important for all the birds as they're falling out, which we're seeing right now. We actually recently just had a small fallout where we're starting to see a good amount of indigo buntings making their way back north, and they got tired after this recent storm. The refuge was established, as I said, in 1946, primarily for the red-headed duck. 80% of the nation's red-headed duck populations winter and rest here at Laguna Atascosa and the adjacent wetlands, as well as the Laguna Madre. If you were to come out to the refuge, I can almost guarantee you're going to see a wide variety of bird species. You'll see American coots, which you can go on over to the actual Laguna Atascosa, the 3,500-acre freshwater lake named after the refuge, and that is the only area that is accessible by vehicle. We only have one driving trail. It's 1.5 miles, but it does take you on over to the lake, where you could see the red-headed duck, American coot. Northern shovelers are there in large numbers. Gladwells, always got to have them. Least grebes, very cute. And then we have all the South Texas specials. So if you were to go to the visitor center, where we have all of our ADA trails, extremely well maintained. You can walk every single one of our paved trails and you're under 0.9 of a mile. We have 5 bird feeding stations and 4 water features, which tend to gravitate the majority of the birds within that area. Some that are only the South Texas special, such as the green jay, the Altamira oriole. And every single morning we feed these birds at 8 a.m. Really does tend to flock the majority of the birds within the area. And I mean, at one point in time, you'll see the green jay, the Altamira oriole, the cardinals, the red-winged blackbirds, loudered back woodpeckers. You'll be hearing them as you're walking through the trails. You'll just start hearing them. I mean, it's honestly the most amazing thing just to be out there, close your eyes and listen to the sounds that nature has. We have the golden fronted woodpecker. plain chachalacas, a South Texas special. Turkey vultures and black vultures in large numbers. As you're driving to the refuge, don't forget to be sure to look around you. You're driving through some bit of miles just to get to us. So while you're on your way, make sure you pay attention to the caracaras, the ospreys that are on the power lines, the Harris's hawk, the red-shouldered hawk. As I'm saying, the Rio Grande Valley is amazing for birding. The fact that Laguna Atascosa is #1 in the whole United States when it comes to most birds, it really does mean something. A lot of the time, being that some of us that are native, they do truly take it for granted. You cannot go anywhere else and see this amount of bird species. So Laguna Atascosa not only is home to 417 different species of birds during our peak migration, it's also home to 45 mammals, 44 reptiles and amphibians, 130 butterflies, and 450 different plant species, truly making this the most biologically diverse refuge in North America. We have such creatures, sorry, I apologize, as the ocelot. There's an estimated 50 to 80 ocelots remaining in the whole US, all here in the Rio Grande Valley. Just recently on February 14th, the road that goes into the Refuge Visitor Center, Buena Vista Boulevard, these two cats actually crossed. An individual who was birding, driving slow on the side of the road with his camera already out, trying to get good photos of birds, was lucky enough to see not one, but 2 ocelots. This is an extremely rare occurrence, and that individual is very, very lucky. The refuge has 7 employees, and each one of us come in around the same time that this individual is driving into the refuge for his birding trip. And not one of us has ever been lucky enough to see that. Don't confuse our ocelots with our bobcats. We have quite a few mammals, and some of them even look alike. Our bobcats are very unique. Their patterns can be spotted just like you see here, which to the untrained eye, especially quick at a distance, you would think it's a bobcat. One of the biggest difference, easiest ways to tell is the tail. On an ocelot, the tail is extremely long, half the length of his body. On a bobcat, it's very short, no more than 6 inches. Not only that, but you have the ears. On a bobcat, the ears are rounded, and an ocelot, the ears are pointed. Other way around, apologize. Rounded on an ocelot, pointed on a bobcat. Now, if you were to go out to the refuge, go on one of our plenty of hikes that we have, 70 miles of hiking and biking trails, you will have the opportunity to see different species that occur here in native in the Rio Grande Valley, such as white-tailed deer. Coyotes, we have a very healthy population of coyotes, some in good health, some not so much. Javalinas, which are native to South Texas, not to be confused with feral hogs, the invasive species that causes an unfortunate $1.5 billion in agricultural damages each year. These species, they deroot. They can actually deroot a farm field in one night. Their herd creatures are actually a big problem, especially right now that the refuge is underway on some revegetation projects. We're having to do some invasive species control in order to make sure that the fields that we're revegging are going to stay, and the hogs aren't going to come and deroot all of our hard work. We also have another problem with a very, very well-known invasive species, the nilgai antelope. The nilgai antelope is a native species to India and Pakistan that was brought over here in the late 1920s for hunting purposes. Unfortunately, since then, just like the Jurassic Park movies, always going to get loose. And in this case, it was a perfect storm. Right now, there's an estimated 30,000 free-range nilgai in South Texas. They consume 25 kilos of green vegetation a day. We also have armadillos. Now, not only do we have the 45 mammals, but we have the 44 reptiles. One of the more famous ones is the American alligator. These can be easily seen on some of our more accessible hikes, such as the Gator Pond Observation Deck, which is a complete paved 0.03 hike from the Osprey Overlook. This year, Laguna Atascosa will actually be its first year hunting the American alligator. Laguna Atascosa has been participating in hunts since 1970, and this will be our first year hunting American alligator coming up soon on April 23rd. We also have indigo snakes. This very special Texas endangered indigo snake is an amazing species to have around, and I definitely enjoy having it around the visitor center. This species diet consists of rattlesnakes. Now, even though both are native to the Rio Grande Valley, we try to make sure that the rattlesnakes are either relocated away from the visitor center, just so every single visitor can have a safe, fun experience when you're out here on our trails. But whenever I see the indigos around the visitor center, it makes me smile from ear to ear, because just knowing that we have a large population of them around not only reduces our rattlesnake population, but as well as the rats and mice that may happen to get into the refuge visitor center. And as said, the Western diamondback rattlesnake. Now, I know the last thing I want to do is deter anybody from coming to the refuge, because it's truly an amazing place that I believe every single individual should have the privilege and opportunity to go out there. However, it's even more so important for those that are native to the Rio Grande Valley, being that this is your refuge. So the Western diamondback rattlesnake, even though it has a terrible reputation, it's not a bad snake. Did you know that 50% of all rattlesnake bites are dry bites, meaning they don't inject any of their venom into you? Reason being is it does take time for them to rebuild that venom, and they wouldn't want to waste it on something not in their food chain. So I said we had 130 different species of butterflies, one being the monarch butterfly. Not to be confused with the queen butterfly, in my opinion. The monarch gets a lot of attention, but this queen butterfly is extremely beautiful. We also have the giant western swallowtail, one that can be seen many times around the visitor center trails, being that we do plant butterfly gardens. I won't even try to say it, to be honest with you. I practiced a few times, but I never felt confident enough. But these yellow ones that we always saw as a kid here in the Rio Grande Valley, just flying around like crazy. And the first thing, the way we felt when we saw that butterfly, I feel like a lot of people forgot that. And if you go into the visitor center where you could walk through butterfly gardens, walk through Turk's caps, walk through misty flowers, where all these butterflies are pollinating, it's something truly beautiful to see. We also have 450 different plant species, and one very important type is native thorn scrub habitat. This is home to the endangered species, the ocelot. And multiple species of plants make this thorn scrub, such as one very famous one, all thorn, as well as mesquite, prickly pear cactus. It's a very well-known saying that everything here in South Texas wants to poke you, bite you, or stick you. And when it comes to Laguna Atascosa, if you stay on our trails, you have nothing to worry about, being that we have a great maintenance staff that makes sure that our trails are very well maintained. So if I were to be here and list the entire species of everything that we had when it comes to our plants, our mammals, reptiles, amphibians, we'd be here all day, but I could go on and on. Every single one of these creatures calls Laguna Atascosa home. And it is a privilege for me to help them and ensure that that home is going to be here for years to come. And we need to make sure that these species are also going to be here as well. So we have quite a few endangered species that occur here on the refuge, approximately 9. One of the endangered species is the ocelot. The historical range of the ocelot was throughout the entire state of Texas. Currently, it's only located here in the Rio Grande Valley. The reason for its decline was the fur trade. How many ocelot pelts do you think it took to make an adult size female medium coat? You're wrong. I can always tell everybody's wrong because it's 30. It's a ridiculous amount. 30 ocelots to make one adult female medium. And the reason being, they would use a beautiful pattern just along their back. And it's very unfortunate. Was a very big reason for their decline. Currently, they actually face a different problem, which is habitat loss and fragmentation. Habitat loss, their home is dense native South Texas thorn scrub, and it's very inhabitable for us. When we got here back in the 1800s, it was just more ideal to completely take it away and use it for agriculture or just us being around and able to walk through the brush. Thorn scrub is so dense that a professional baseball player, in my opinion, wouldn't be able to throw it no more than 10 feet, 20 feet. It's that dense. Fragmentation is another big thing. And Laguna Atascosa, unfortunately, is a great example of it. So Laguna Atascosa proper, the approximately 48,000 acres going north of FM 106, is great ocelot habitat, arguably the most pristine ocelot habitat in North America is right there just north of FM 106 on Steve Thompson Wildlife Drive, the initial refuge tract that started the refuge back in 1946 at 11,000 acres. It is amazing habitat. Now, U.S. Fish and Wildlife this year, Laguna Atascosa was able, sorry, in the year 2021, Laguna Atascosa was actually able to grow by 4,933 acres. Now we bought everything south of FM 106 right across Laguna Atascosa proper. It's all agricultural land. If you were to go right now, you'll still see it currently being farmed. And what we're doing is we're going to be re-vegging hundreds of acres each year of South Texas native thorn scrub habitat. And it's currently being underway right now. If you were to drive off of Ted Hunt, which is off of FM 106, you'll notice to your east, there's a whole field with tree tubes that just got planted. And this is just a new project that's underway to really make sure that the ocelots are here to stay. Laguna Atascosa has done ocelot trapping and monitoring for the past 30 years. So we know the problem. Now we need to play a part in the solution. So we also have other endangered species such as the Oplomado falcon. The Oplomado falcon is one of the success stories of the Endangered Species Program, as well as the American alligator. Their numbers were on large decline in the 1950s, and that's when the reintroduction program started. And since then, their numbers have gone back drastically. We also have the Laguna Madre, the mother lagoon. A good amount of our refuge does border the Laguna Madre. So we do have every single endangered sea turtle, such as the green sea turtle, the Pacific green sea turtle. Atlantic, sorry. That is my presentation. I will stop sharing my screen. Can somebody just take control?
Hi, give me 1 second. You're able to hear me, correct?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm not sure if I can.
Oh, here you go. Stop sharing. That was easy.
There we go. Okay.
That worked.
So, yeah, thank you, Georgie, for your.
So that was my presentation. Yeah, that was just my presentation. I do have a few more things just to talk about. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service takes place in 6 activities. So as Elizabeth was kindly to mention during my introduction, I am the Visitor Services Manager, meaning every single thing that takes place for visitor services, I take a part in. Now, U.S. Fish and Wildlife partakes in 6 different activities: wildlife observation, photography, environmental education, fishing, and hunting. These 6 activities really do bring your wildlife experience to a next level. You know, whether it is that you're being out there for hiking, biking, you're observing wildlife, or you're taking advantage of some of the consumable resources while fishing or hunting. I mean, these are great ways of providing, you know, the meal, the farm to table, fresh to table. You're talking about organic food. Laguna Atascosa is one of the largest draw hunts in the state of Texas. We have more hunting permits than any other national wildlife refuge. We give over 1,400 permits each year, the majority of them being in archery. with 800 archery permits issued each year. During our hunts, you have the opportunity to harvest 1 buck, 1 doe, unlimited nilgai antelope, and unlimited feral hog, being that they are an invasive species, which is why really that we are the number one because we're the largest draw hunt. It is a very tough hunt, as nilgai antelopes are extremely tough creatures to bring down, but it is probably the best deal in South Texas there is. Hunting here is extremely expensive, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the public, is providing a service to us by trying to help us control our numbers for nilgai antelope and feral hog. And in part, we're providing a service to them for affordable and quality hunts. So there's 2 different locations you can apply for our hunts, one of them being the Bahia Grande unit and the other being the Laguna Atascosa. There's multiple different hunt categories where you can apply. One's archery, general rifle, exotic archery, exotic muzzleloader and shotgun, and American alligator. As I said, the American alligator is coming up. This will be our first year. We started with 20 permits, and we expect it to be an extremely successful hunt. You can apply for our hunts on the 1st or 2nd week of July through tpwd.texas.gov. All right. Any questions?
Yes. Hi, Georgie. So we have quite a few questions. We had a few repeating questions about coyotes.
Okay.
So let me read you this one. This one is from Sofia Martinez. She asked, what kind of medical care does a coyote receive? Since you mentioned that some of them are not in great condition. So I guess we're asking if you intervene in any way, or do you just let nature take its course?
Yes, correct. So when I mentioned that some are in great conditions, very healthy, very beautiful coats, very chunky looking coyotes, because we have a great amount of rabbits. And then some unfortunately have mange. Just being out here in the wild, we have chiggers, mites, and they're affected all the same. As per what we do absolutely nothing. We do believe, it's just let nature take its course. If the coyote or any species is in poor health, eventually he will become food for something else, such as a crested caracara, turkey vulture, or another coyote. The only species we will intervene with are endangered species, such as sea turtles and ocelots. Sea turtles, everybody knows the big freeze that happened recently. A couple of years ago, we took a big play in that as well. And then as well, when it comes to ocelots, unfortunately, an ocelot that was run over recently, I would say 4 years ago, off of 510, U.S. Fish and Wildlife personnel was able to get there in enough time to get that the male ocelot, who was unfortunately hit by a vehicle and died there. We're able to get it at the Gladys Porter Zoo, where we had the doctors able to work and extract DNA from that ocelot in order to hopefully better diversify the DNA pool of captive breeding programs of the ocelot.
Well, now that you're mentioning ocelots, which that is unfortunate what you mentioned about them being run over, let me see, where was it? Because that was one of the questions, like, what are the dangers that ocelots face? So obviously one of them is cars.
That's their biggest danger right now is vehicle collisions. U.S. Fish and Wildlife recently, in partnership with multiple organizations, but TxDOT, a real big one, put in 13 to 15 wildlife crossings along areas that the ocelot population is around, such as FM 106, 100, 510. Now, if you drive these FM roads, you'll notice chain link fence along an overpass that you'll be passing, and this gives the opportunity for the ocelot, and not just the ocelot, but also other wildlife, any wildlife, bobcats, coyotes. We've already had multiple pictures of every single wildlife you could think of, white-tailed deer, nilgai antelope, crossing and using these underpassages. And this is great for the animals. It creates a safer environment, especially for the endangered species, the ocelot. The last thing anybody wants to do is injure one of these beautiful creatures and take one more away from the population that we already have. But it also helps us. Just myself, my truck on the way to work, the grill looks terrible. I have a brush guard, And at this point, it looks like he needs to go to the dentist. Everything is beautiful on my truck except for his teeth. I've hit multiple pigs and one deer. Dreading the day I hit a nail guy, but it will happen if you're around those roads. And the installation of those wildlife crossings, everybody always talks about, well, it's great for the ocelot, it's great for the wildlife. Yes, it is. It's amazing. But we're mammals as well. It affects us. I know so many people, unfortunately, who have hit nilguys, and some of them aren't here today to say the story. So it is an extremely dangerous area to be in, especially at the speed limits when you're speeding. So please maintain speeds around those roads.
All right. Our next question, I'm going to jump to plants because there were a lot of animal questions, but I'm going to jump to one about the plants. You had mentioned that you all are doing a little bit of a reforestation event. So if you could give us a little more information about that. Are you partnering with other organizations? Are they all like, are the plants all grown through Fish and Wildlife, or is UTRGV involved, or how is that happening?
UTRGV has been involved. I do know we have a couple of volunteers right now who are with UTRGV. As to the large involvement scales, I honestly don't know. I do stay quite a bit away from the revegetation program. However, U.S. Fish and Wildlife cannot do anything alone. I will tell you that right off the bat. We rely greatly on partners and volunteers to complete the exact same mission, the conservation aspect. Our mission is to preserve, protect, and enhance fish, wildlife, plants, and their habitats for the continuing benefit of the American people. And there's so many great organizations and individuals who have the exact same mindset and want to help out. We've had plants donated, but we also do grow the majority of our plants here locally in Alamo at Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge, who we used to be a part of. We actually used to be a part of the South Texas Refuge Complex. So us, Laguna, Atascosa, along with Santa Ana and the LRGB units, the Lower Rio Grande Valley National Wildlife Refuge, created the South Texas Refuge Complex. Just recently, we actually became a standalone refuge.
Okay, thank you. And then here's another question. Let's see, where did it go? Someone was asking if you all provide guided tours. So it says, are there guided tours at any of the Laguna Atascosa areas?
So yes and no. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure what the individual is asking about are tram tours. They were extremely popular, and it was something that we used to do a large amount of prior to COVID, especially during our peak season, which is fall, spring migration. So from November all the way to about April, we would have tram tours, habitat tours, Wildlife Wednesday tours. Unfortunately, after COVID, our tour vehicles took a big hit, and that repair price would have been about $30,000 just to get our tour vehicles up and running that are only running for a partial amount of the year. So instead of wasting that money on those vehicles, on the repair of those vehicles for interpretive programs and environmental education, which is extremely important, we decided that money would be better spent to do the revegetation projects. I mean, that money can go to a tractor that is extremely vital in the spraying of these fields to ensure that the thorn scrub is going to survive. Right now, we don't have any hands-on volunteer projects. I know Rio Reforestation, which is an event that's going to be happening in Santa Ana, is going to be taking place, and it's going to be the first time since COVID. So that is definitely something to look forward to. But if anybody ever wanted to volunteer or do anything with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife or Laguna Atascosa specifically, I recommend them going to our Friends website, which is going to be an abbreviated Friends of Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge. So FLAWNR.org. That's where we have our event registration. We actually have an event coming up in April 22nd, Earth Day. So it's a special day just to show a little more extra love to Mother Nature, and let's clean up some trash. We do have our South Padre Island units, but everybody knows the beach cleanup. Everybody's done a beach cleanup. I love doing beach cleanups. I'm tired of doing beach cleanups. So I decided to do something a little bit different here at Laguna Atascosa. We're cleaning up still a body of water, but even more important, vital body of water, the Laguna Madre. Yes, the Gulf of Mexico and that actual beach, beautiful to clean up, amazing to get that trash off of it. But the Laguna Madre is, the translation is Mother Lagoon. Removing trash from there helps ensure that during high tides, hurricanes, that trash that's already on shore isn't going to be washed back into the Laguna Madre. Now, this cleanup is going to be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and it's going to be a convoy, and we have to be very strict about who is driving on that road, as it is pristine ocelot habitat. The reason why prior to 2013, individual from the public, you, me, your vehicle, anybody's motorcycle, could have driven on Steve Thompson Wildlife Drive, which is our 14.2 mile loop, previously known as Bayside Loop. Unfortunately, in 2013, we had a female ocelot get run over by a member of the public, which is why we closed off that road completely. Now, we do have plans to open that road back up to the general public. However, it is a $7 million road project to make that trail two-track. So we're still going to keep the southern part protected for the ocelot. We're adding a wildlife crossing in our northern part, and you're going to only be able to come north off of FM 106, go to Plover Point, Redhead Bridge, and then drive back the exact same way you came. We're still really trying to focus on the preservation protection of the ocelot. We're here for the critters first. As much as we want people to come out and enjoy the refuge, our mission goes back to wildlife. But for tours, we do currently have our last breakfast with the birds happening tomorrow morning. We have a great volunteer, David Book. He's an extremely well-educated birder. He is actually able to bird not only by sight, but by sound. And any person who can do this is, to me, I mean, it just blows my mind that they can hear a bird and, oh, you know, that's a rose-breasted grosbeak. It's an indigo bunting. And these birds don't occur here year-round, and yet they're able to say it. So he goes around to our 5 bird feeding stations, puts out citrus, seed, as well as some suet, which is our mixture of lard, peanut butter, and bird seed. Birds love it. Everybody loves peanut butter and fat. So he goes out and he's able to name every single bird, and they're hungry. They're expecting the feed. So all of them really do flock to just one feeder as you're there, especially that initial feeder that you're feeding. So tomorrow's going to be our last one. We normally do have interpretive programs that are held throughout the week during our peak season. Unfortunately, that is coming to an end. As I stated, we are 7 employees that manage 120,000 acres. We have 3 managers, a refuge manager, the assistant deputy chief, the assistant refuge manager, myself, the visitor services. We have 2 managers, 2 maintenance workers, 1 administrative position, and 1 biologist. So in between us 7, we try to do it all, and some things unfortunately do get left behind, which interpretive tours is going to be one of those. Now we're still doing stuff with our friends. So if you go to our friends' website, every single event that we have is through their registration through there. We have science series. We're going to have family fishing camps that are going to be available for registration Friday evening, Saturday mornings. We also do Texas Youth Hunting Program, which is a great program in partnership with just an amazing organization. If you've never been hunting before and you're in between the ages of 9 through 17 and you're looking to get into this hobby, you don't have a rifle, you don't have the hunter arms, you don't even have the knowledge, you don't have your hunter's education, this program will square you away. Each single youth participant that is drawn goes on the same hunt with their guardian plus a guide. So not only is our memories being made, but they're being made properly in a safe manner, in a very educational manner. They're going to walk away with more knowledge than just going to the hunt itself, but knowing things about field dressing, proper care, and invasive species control. So definitely look up all of our programs that we offer, and all of them are going to be there on our friend's website.
So Georgie, because you mentioned hunting, we did have some questions about that. So I know some of these animals are missing their natural predator, and so that's where hunting comes in. So what type of like, do you need a license? Like you said that people are going to be now able to hunt alligators.
Mhm.
Do they need a license? Would they need a license to remove
Okay.
feral hogs, or how does that work?
So yeah, so all of our, you can't just come and hunt, like you do bird or bite. This is by a draw system only, and that draw system is through tpwd.texas.gov, and that drawing application system opens up in the first or second week of July. Now, for these species, so the way we hunt these, you're going to need your state required hunting license. We provide the opportunity and the location for you to hunt, but everything else is still on the hunter. You will still be utilizing your tags if you're lucky enough to harvest a buck or a doe. You don't need anything for nilgai antelope or feral hog when it comes to state tags. The American alligator is a unique one, as that alligator tag needs to be purchased additionally after your harvest of the American alligator. We do not have tags that are issued to the refuge. This is going to be everybody who has a hunting license purchases that tag for one American alligator a year as well.
Okay, thank you. And then also some people were asking if you all take in donations, like for bird seed, animal feed, anything like that.
Definitely.
Okay, and how?
So, okay, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
We feed our birds year round, as I said, and some of the feed does get a little light every now and again. We accept all donations, and we really do appreciate it. Citrus is amazing. If you have too much and you think that it's going to go bad over here, we'll put it in the freezer. The birds don't mind. If you have the sour oranges or sour lemons, the ones that nobody wants to eat, birds love them. We might not like them, but the birds do enjoy them. If nobody's there to accept your donation, please just leave them at the door. We promise we'll get them the very next day when we go in. And we also do accept donations, monetary donations, as well as you can purchase directly through the Friends website to have the bird seed, suet, peanut butter, lard, anything that we might be needing at the time. There's actually a wish list right there on the Friends website where they can donate. And it is greatly, greatly appreciated. The donations go a long way to provide excellent birding experiences.
Okay, thank you. And then this one, I'm not so sure, but maybe you can just add a little bit more information. This is from Nathan, and they're asking about the process of determining a species as invasive. Like if you know how they do that, or what is the point at which now they are no longer a good plant or animal and now they are invasive.
Okay, an invasive species is something very simple. It's defined as just non-native. So the nilgai antelope is a non-native to the Rio Grande Valley, to the United States. And as of right now, where they've already gotten loose here in the Rio Grande Valley, they're not competing for food source per se with the white-tailed deer, being that they do consume a good amount of invasive grasses. Again, non-native. White-tailed deer is going to eat the native grasses that they enjoy and that are native to their diet. The nilgai antelope, on the other hand, is already competing for habitat, not so much a food source or a water source. Fortunately, the past couple of years, we've had extremely good seasons of rain, so we haven't really gone into a drought. We're already starting to see some of our lakes reduce, some of our smaller ponds going down in this past rain. It looks absolutely stunning. Pelican Lake is back. All of the lakes that were drying out, and water is a very big issue, very important for everything out here to survive. But just invasive, non-native, and nothing that's ideally it wouldn't exist here, just because we want to give our native species a chance to thrive. And one of the best examples of that would be the way we control it through our South Texas fire system. Our South Texas fire crew are amazing, and they're responsible for burning thousands and thousands of acres upon invasive grasses. And this does give the native grasses a chance to sprout. If you were to take a quick drive down FM 106 Prairie Trail parking lot on the south side, the only unit accessible on the south side of FM 106 to the general public, Prairie Trail is a beautiful 4.1 mile loop, so you won't be repeating the exact same thing. you go right now, you'll see that we just burnt that entire 1,000-acre unit 2 weeks ago. So you'll see the native grasses starting to sprout out, and it's gonna give them the time to develop their roots first before the invasive grasses even have time to play. Not only that, when it comes to plants, native and invasive is extremely important. There's a reason why we can't plant, if as much as you like, I wish I was better at gardening. Some plants just don't grow here. If you like a fruit and you try to grow it here, it won't take. It's just not ideal for it. And our native plants are extremely drought resistant, which helps them survive any kind of burn, such as mesquite. I know a lot of people here in South Texas, the best wood that we use for our barbecues is mesquite, and it does burn amazingly. However, if it's still alive in the ground, not dried, it does amazing. The fire doesn't even affect it.
Thank you. Okay, so a lot of students are very interested in going. And so they're asking, like, when is the best time? So do you have a season that you believe is probably a better season or a time of day that would be better for somebody to come and visit?
Definitely, it's always going to be a season that just passed, unfortunately, winter and fall. We do get a good amount of birds right now, currently during spring migration, but it's very fast. And then it just gets hot, to be honest with you. During our summer months, it's almost unbearable. And so if you do come out here, it's always going to be early in the morning, especially in the summer. And just for wildlife viewing in general, dusk and dawn are always the best times. So right at sunrise, a little bit before sunset, everything just tends to wake up or wants to go to bed. So everything just starts moving. But yes, definitely during our winter, early spring season, because that's also when we have our interpretive tours. We have more stuff going on. But the refuge is open 365 days a year from sunrise to sunset, regardless. Whether the visitor center is open or closed. If you needed a map, there's some online on our official Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge FWS service page. Or you could find them as well to the right-hand side of the visitor center door, where you'll also see a self-pay station or a QR code, hopefully in the future, where we're going to be able to just pay online. The refuge is an amazing area to go to, but I do recommend knowing where you're going to. You're going to a national wildlife refuge. There are ticks, there are mosquitoes, there are bugs. And as long as you go well prepared, you're going to have a great time. The best way to control ticks is stay on trail. I cannot stress that enough. Not only this, but going off trail as much as you think, that looks amazing. A deer went through there. I can go follow it, see where he went. You're going to bring something back with you, whether it's a tick or a chigger. Not only that, but the deer's feet are a lot different than ours. The last thing you want to do is go and destroy habitat. Do me a favor, stay on trail and enjoy the refuge. We have over 70 miles of hiking and biking trails, so I'm pretty sure we have something for everyone.
Thank you. So the last few questions are about you. So our students want to know some of your favorites. For example, if you have a favorite plant or bird that you see there at work, maybe you only see it once a year, or maybe you see it all the time. If you'd like to share some of your favorites there that you've seen.
Of course. So I have to share my locals first. My favorite local is the green jay, and it is literally the one that I've gambled to people and told them, I bet you my paycheck, you're going to come to the refuge and you're going to see a green jay. Even on terrible weather, it's gusting, the birds aren't out, they're all bedded down. You still see a green jay if you're looking hard enough. We are infamous for our green jays. We have so many flock to one feeder at one time. It's honestly breathtaking. So that is definitely my favorite native bird. My favorite non-native bird is going to be the painted bunting, who's already recently been seen on his trip back north at the South Padre Island Birding Center, which is one of our amazing partners. And they do such great interpretive programs out there. I highly recommend it. Make a day out of it. Once you're done with the refuge, go and visit South Padre Island Birding Center. And then my favorite mammal, we could go a long time for my favorites. There's a lot of stuff in Laguna. My favorite mammal would be, White-tailed deer. I'm a hunter, and I've grown a lot, and I've learned a lot from hunting, and it's just become a very large part of my life. So seeing these creatures without a rifle in my hand has taught me just 20 times more about them. Just doing it for those 3 months, 4 months out of the year isn't enough. It definitely takes a lot more time to learn their behavior and just, to make yourself a very well-rounded hunter. So white-tailed deer would be my favorite mammal. Rattlesnake, I absolutely love the rattlesnake just because people are scared of it. I can't tell you how many times, twice, I've come into very, very, very close contact with them twice, where I just didn't even know they were there. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention. And unlike general public, I am the one feeding the birds, so I'm allowed to go off trail, which is unfortunately where those altercations happen. So that's another reason for the public to stay on trail. So diamondback, rattlesnake, and then my favorite butterfly is, well, it's a monarch. Even though I said the queen is prettier, it is definitely the monarch. During their migration, it's just a sight to see. It's beautiful to see all those butterflies flying at one time. And then if you happen to be driving along different roads while that's happening, it's unfortunate to see all the deaths on your grill, but just driving through as you're seeing them actually migrate, it's very, very nice. Those would be my favorites. My favorite hike at the refuge is a perfect 5K. So as I said, we only have one driving trail, which is Lakeside Drive. And that one does take you over to the Osprey Overlook that overlooks the Laguna Atascosa. From there, it's a 3K hike going south on Gator Pond, cutting east on Mud Trail, and then north on Scum Pond. It's a perfect U, and you're going to come back very close to where you parked your vehicle. And it's one of the best hikes, in my opinion, because Gator Pond travels south along the Laguna Atascosa. And once you cut in on Mud Trail, it shows a great example of true South Texas grasslands where mesquite is just not far away. So as soon as you start getting into mesquite habitat, it transfers over into thorn scrub habitat that we were able to re-veg back in 2019. So it's extremely diverse hike and very, very beautiful, and it's easy, it's accessible. It's a 5K, 3.1 miles.
Okay, I'm curious about the plants. Do you have a favorite plant? I know you said that you love the monarchs. So I'm wondering if through your prescribed burns, you've got some milkweed coming up to provide habitat for them, or maybe there's another plant that you really like.
I think I like shaded trees. So my favorite one would be the Texas ebony.
That's a good choice. I like the Texas ebony as well. Okay, so now students want to know, how can they get a job like yours? So what is it that they would need to get a job like yours? And then how did you know that you wanted to work at Laguna Atascosa?
Laguna Atascosa has always had a special place in my heart. I started visiting the refuge through one of our partners, Adolph Tomei County Park. And, since the 1950s, Adolph Tomei County Park in Arroyo City has been an area that families have been allowed to go and fish and create memories there. So that was actually my first experiences with the refuge. To be honest with you, unfortunately, being that it's always been the same way, the Department of Interior, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Laguna Atascosa doesn't have a large staff numbers where they should be. I never knew about it. I didn't know about a career with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and it is honestly one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I was fortunate enough to be I'm a veteran, so that's the way I was able to get in. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife does like to see veterans, and it also likes to see college degrees, bachelor's, master's in wildlife management, biology, anything geared towards wildlife. Those will be the easiest ways to get your foot in. And honestly, getting your foot in is one of the harder things to do. So I recommend always going to USA Jobs and just looking for anything with the department you want to work for. So not only do we have great jobs in conservation, just with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they're all over the country with the Department of Interior agencies such as the Park Service, the Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Reclamation, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, then U.S. Fish and Wildlife. All of these agencies big picture goal is the same. So they're great agencies working towards conservation or preservation. I recommend never saying no in your career. Whether it comes down, I'm the visitor services manager. And the reason why I do this is because every morning I also clean the restrooms. I clean public use restrooms. Somebody has to do it. I enjoy the fact knowing that people are going to come to the refuge and use a good restroom. I mean, the last thing you want to do is go on a hike, you're sweaty, and then you go to the restroom and it's super dirty. So that's something that I take a lot of pride in. And it's something very simple. And it's something also a lot of people just say, no, I don't do that. I don't clean restrooms. There's nothing too small, no task too small, no task too complicated, or something that I don't know. Recently, I was actually tasked with writing up the new hunt plan, and with writing up a new hunt plan came writing up an environmental assessment. Mind you, the last, I did not go to college. I do not have a degree. So the last schooling I ever had in biology, type was in high school. So it took a lot out of me to write that hunt plan, but the environmental assessment, but it was something that, got done. I said yes. That's my biggest advice to anybody, is just never say no in your career. Whether it's difficult, you don't know how to do it, figure it out, have a good time doing it.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Those are the majority of the questions that we have for today. So Georgie, thank you so much for your presentation. It was great to get to know you and great to get to know more about the wildlife refuge. A lot of people that are local still haven't visited. And so hopefully this presentation motivates people to go. Maybe they weren't aware of it. So again, thank you so much. And then to our viewers, thank you all for sticking around and listening to what Georgie has to say. And we hope that you go and visit. We hope that you get involved. And we also hope that you stay curious and keep learning about the Rio Grande Valley, because like Georgie said, it's one of the most diverse places in the United States and also in the world. So thank you again, Georgie. And with that, we're going to go ahead and end our live stream. So thank you all. Have a good evening, and we'll see you in our next session.